Welcome everyone. I'm glad to welcome you on our performance review course. And today we have our first class. And the topic of this class is what is it and why a performance review, or sometimes we call it performance appraisal, is conducted. And let's start from this. What's in it for you? Why you should learn this topic or this HR function? Because the ability to organize performance review is a requirement of any modern business for HR. Because as you will see today later, performance review as a part of performance management is very important part of business management. And that's why every company should implement it. And actually lots of different companies in the world has already implemented performance management and performance review as a part of performance management. So if you want to be in the international HR, if you want to work in big companies, in I would say mature companies, then you have to know how to do that. This is a course website, Performance Inc. And let me tell you about myself a little bit. My name is Mike Pritula, and this is a list of companies that I worked for. And performance management actually was a part of every company that I worked. In Alpha Bank, I firstly made this system, and I was a kind of just an employee who just submitted the performance review form and had the performance meeting with the manager. But later in different companies, I implemented this, either implemented or conducted performance management and performance review. So for example, when I was HR business partner at Wargaming company, I had to manage the process within my team and my department that I supported. And yes, performance review was very important part of this, and you will see today why it's so important. At Prepl and Idealis, we implemented this because we needed something, not just something, it's like a standard business management system, but we also needed something to set salaries, to prepare development plans, and so many other things. Okay, let's move on. In my work, I use so many different sources and reports, let's say, and surveys. And today in this class, you will have some interesting information from some of these companies about the performance management and performance review specifically. So I highly recommend you to download these attachments from your class and just to read it as you have free time. And about the homework, as usually our courses, they have homework, which I review myself and give you feedback based on it. And all completed homework assignments qualify for the diploma of completion. And here's an example of this diploma. It looks pretty well, I think. And it is integrated in your LinkedIn. So you will highlight your skills and your experience in your LinkedIn profile with this diploma. And we issue this diploma on the top online platform, which is also used by more than 1,000 companies and more than 1 million diplomas issued in each month. And for example, Google, Slack, Zendesk, Harvard University, they also use this platform. So you are going to be in a good, neighborhood, right? And our course programs. Today is our, let's say, introductory webinar, and we will talk what's the performance review. And right from the class number 2, we will start to understand how to do that. So we will learn how to appraise performance or results. I will give you several directions or several options how to assess employees' results, like based on objectives, based on job profile, based on so many different things like OKRs and so on, KPIs. On class 3, we will talk how to assess competencies, because in performance review, we usually assess not only performance itself, but also competencies of employees. During the 4th class, we will talk how to conduct performance review meeting and how to prepare both parties, what to do, how to check if everything was well, and etc. At class 5, we will talk about automation. We will see how the system works in terms of automation. We will consider how PeopleForce performance management module works and how to start performance review, how to conduct, how to work with the results. So we will see it's in details in the system. We will have a live demo of the system. And on the class 6, we will talk how to use results. Like, okay, now we have results of performance review, we have these ratings, what to do next, how to prepare performance development plan, how to calculate salary increase, how to calculate bonus, how to do something else, like how to plan succession planning, and so many other things. And today we will talk, is performance review really worth it? Because some companies, they give up of performance review, and you will see what are the results of this action. What are the benefits and uses of performance review? How performance review affects the company business, elements of personal review system, responsibilities of those involved, and current research on this topic. So let's start. We will talk about performance review mainly during this class and course as well, but usually you can find other names like performance evaluation, performance appraisal, personal evaluation, employee appraisal, annual evaluation, or just a review. It's all the same, just the same process, but with different names. So if you see some kind of other names, it's the same. Or you may see some specific name for the company, like talent review, they could call it, or something different. You may invent your personal name for this process. It's up to you, doesn't matter. Okay, let's start from the history. It's very interesting how it appeared and how it became as what we have now. The first mention of evaluation was by Wei dynasty. It was long before the Christ. Then Robert Owen, I think this is a man that was first mentioned in terms of performance review system. This guy invented the silent monitor. Actually, you see this silent monitor in this picture. It's like a piece of wood with different colors on sides. And we will see how this guy used it. In 1909, Frederick Winslow Taylor, one of the earliest management theorists, actually, this guy has a lot of different works about the management, and he's mentioned heavily in different sources. He published Principles of Scientific Management, and he proposed increasing productivity by streamlining and simplifying job. Putting Taylor's principles into practice, Walter D. Scott introduced the concept of evaluating the abilities of workers in industry just before World War I. He introduced his man-to-man comparison scale. Man-to-man comparison, interesting, right? His scale was modified and used to evaluate US Army officers. How it worked for Robert Owen, for this guy who invented this silent monitor. And why it's silent, actually? Why it's monitor? Because it's a piece of wood, right? But Robert Owen was vehemently opposed to the use of corporal punishment, and so to maintain discipline in the mills of New Lanark, he developed his own unique system. Next to each worker in the mills hung silent monitor, each side of which displayed a different color. And you see, like, this is a darker color than this. I think it's like maybe yellow, orange. It's something like blue or black. And 4 of these sides were marked with black for bad behavior, blue for indifferent behavior, good behavior was marked in yellow. Yeah, it's actually yellow, and excellent in white. And the supervisor was responsible for turning this monitor daily, like, and this on that side, according to how well or poorly the work behaved. And then daily records were made of workers' behavior in the character books, which were provided for each department in the factories. And then you can see just day-to-day status. You may calculate and understand. This guy had white colors almost every day, but this guy had maybe all black, and that's why we have to dismiss this guy. Continuation of the story. In 1916, Henry Fayol beat Taylor by 10 steps and created the 14 principles of management, which he believed all managers should follow in his book, Administration of Industry and Society. It was in, I think it was in French. Fayol speaks of principles such as subordination, unity of command, and one direction, perhaps the first time anyone talked about cascading and aligning goals. Taylor's principles were refined and developed by Max Weber. This guy is also quite famous. Bureaucratic management theory, who emphasized the formal organization of work. There should be no small talk, cooperation, or exchange of ideas. Work is work, not socializing. Yeah, actually, old school of management is considered as strict management. Now it's quite different. Now we know that small talk is very useful, and we don't have to prohibit employees to do that, right? But at that time, it was as such. I think because employees were different, it was maybe not so easy to push them and to make them work, right? That's why they introduced this strict management theory. Great. Then Peter Drucker, and this guy is super famous. I think this is the most famous guy in terms of management principles, because actually, for example, when I was a manager myself for the first time, I was highly recommended to read this book, and I read this book, quite a good book. I would say for today it's quite outdated, because the old days were different. No internet, no mobile cells, no what else? No Facebook, of course, no social networks, and at that time the world was quite slow comparing to our days, right? Because everywhere fast and ambiguous, and like lots of different things happen. But Peter Drucker, or some call them Peter Drucker, is famous guy. So you could read this book. I will give you the reference to this book at the end of our class. So in 1954, Peter Drucker outlined the concept of management by objectives, MBO. Actually, if you see MBO, it was invented by Peter Drucker in his book, The Practice of Management. This is the book. MBO is a model of strategic management that aims to improve organizational performance by clearly defining goals agreed to by both management and employees. Douglas McGregor, another very popular guy, The Human Side of Enterprise, emphasized the shortcomings of personality assessment and advocated a more participatory and performance-based approach. His theory why it's tied to newest generation was built directly on my research and is the cornerstone for most modern management theories. Yeah, and I think this guy invited this quite, I would say, soft management practice. Andy Grove, which is super famous for his OKR, the father of OKR, is usually credited with introducing this approach to Intel during his time there. He was the president of Intel. It is mentioned in his 1983 book, High Impact Management. At Intel, Grove advocated IMBO. They call it Intel Management by Objectives. And then later, John Doerr, he just renamed this theory with OKR, Objectives and Key Results. But initially, OKR was named Intel Management by Objectives. That's interesting, right? Taylor's idea. He put forward the idea that workers and managers should cooperate with each other. And this is the book of this guy. The third of the four principles of scientific management is cooperation, not individualism, dealt as to supervise workers, give instructions, and control them to use the most efficient method of work. So you see, this performance review, performance management practice evolved from very ancient times, I would say, and this approach was heavily upgraded recently, about 100 years ago. But there are a lot of different books with this, about this, a lot of different researches. It's actually part of a standard management course in every university or in any course. So if you take an MBA, for example, you will learn how to do the performance management and performance review. So it's like a standard practice for the company, not just for the HR. And every company should implement this into their practice to manage business performance results. Is it really worth conducting performance review, right? Because sometimes this is questioned. This is a mandatory part of manager's job. So it's not just an HR job, it's a manager job. It's not an HR process, it's a regular management process. It provides a legal basis for personal decisions. Actually, this part is very interesting because when I worked at Wargaming, I was in Belarus and I'm originally from Ukraine. And Wargaming had offices in Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia. And in these three countries, actually, I think the same for Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, maybe Moldova, and other neighboring countries to Ukraine. Usually performance management and performance review, which is a part of performance management, not a standard practice. It's not so famous. Just maybe an international company have it in international companies, but lots of local companies, they don't have this process. Why? Because we don't have strict laws about the employment. In the United States and in Western Europe, it's standard practice. Why? Because if a company dismisses an employee just can go to the court and claim the disagreement to the company, and they can win, and they can make company pay a lot of money for unfair dismissal. That's why company use performance management and performance appraisal specifically to prove that the decision of firing employee was right. And it wasn't a part of like discrimination or personal favor or personal relations. It was a business decision based on performance, and that's why they have performance management and performance appraisal as a standard practice to save the company against any prosecutions and against any penalties with some kind of money. So it provides a legal basis for personal decisions, and by personal decisions, we usually made firing employees. It affects employee performance, which is great. Allows for retention of doubtful employees, because sometimes people, they don't think they work well. You know this by, maybe you've heard this, imposter syndrome. Actually, I think, I'm not sure if I have it now, actually, I haven't checked it for some time, but previously I had this imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome makes you feel bad about your performance while you are quite good at your job. Why? Because you don't see good feedback. Actually, I had so many different managers. Some of them gave me quite great feedback about my performance, good and bad. And some of them were like silent managers. I didn't receive enough performance feedbacks. And when I was in DAP and I asked about the feedback, or sometimes I somehow tried to receive this feedback, like what's the standard approach to receive this feedback? If you are shy, if you're not sure how to do that, you just ask for salary raise, right? Because if you have salary raise, it's a kind of feedback that you are good, or a bonus. If you request for the bonus and you receive the bonus, you are good. If you don't receive the bonus, okay, maybe something's wrong, and maybe you have to look for another job. The same for other employees. They are in doubt about their performance. If managers don't give them this feedback about their performance, they can just let the company, leave the company and go to another company. And I had this in my practice. At Preply company, we actually lost one of great employee because of the lack of the performance feedback. And and performance review and performance management helps without unnecessary employees or underperforming employees, right? And again, performance management system and performance appraisal as a part of performance management system is a standard part of business management. So there is a managing business performance, which is the 4 stages: strategy planning, communicating, linking, budgeting, and performance measurement in business terms. And then we have managing job performance. And it like, like a gear, one part rotate another part. And that's why we need performance management and performance appraisal specifically, or performance review, which is the same, just to support business management, business performance management. Okay, but you may heard about that, or you may hear it in the future, that in 2012, Adobe and then Microsoft gave up of making review. It was actually a very big hype, especially in HR sphere, right? And they did it in favor of more regular feedback. Actually, I wouldn't say they invented this, but they make it popular, continuous feedback, the idea of continuous feedback. And also they gave up assessment rating. Some thought it was a good idea because it took a lot of time to make in this performance review. It made some people feel bad because of their performance. But later, in 2018, Gartner, which is like a super popular, super famous consulting company, proved it was a bad idea. This is a link to this research. And they reported that 6% lower employee engagement at companies without ratings. So giving up setting performance rating was a bad idea, because those companies, they have lower employee engagement. And why? What happened? Pay differentiation becomes less obvious, frustrating talents. The quality of managers' conversation decreases because they don't have like a scale or like a standard. Time spent on informal conversations decreases, and employee engagement drops because managers are unable to do the very things that are proven to engage employees: set expectations, have clear conversations about performance and development, and provide appropriate rewards and recognition. Actually, here on this scheme, you see the whole performance management system, because performance management starts from performance planning, setting objectives, then performance monitoring, conducting one-on-ones, then performance appraisal, of course, and performance development. This part is the main part of this system because it accumulates everything. So you have to know how to do this part, and the rest will be super easy, because as soon as you choose how to assess your employees, you use the same system for performance planning. Performance monitoring is quite easy because you only have to introduce one-on-one meetings in the company. And actually, performance development is quite a part of performance appraisal, because during the performance appraisal, you plan performance development, you prepare personal development plan, or sometimes you prepare personal improvement plan. Why? Because if the person has great performance, it receives performance or personal development plan. But if the person shows weak performance, it receives personal improvement plan, PIP, and you will see how it's going to be implemented. Okay, let's move on. Performance review can, so this is our benefits of performance review: motivate your employees to perform better and produce more, because you may show them how to do that with the performance review. Help you identify development and training needs. Help employees understand how they can develop and grow. Improve employee morale, which is quite the opposite that was expected, because sometimes people connect performance appraisal with bad employee morale, but it's wrongly, how to say, wrongly consider it in this way, because actually it improves employee morale in general. If you say in general, for those, I would say 5% of underperforming employee, they could decrease this morale because they will see they perform badly. But for the rest, it was good. It's going to be good. It increases employee respect for their managers and upper management. Promote good communications between your employees and you. By you, we mean managers, right, or company. Identify underperforming employees and help them get back on track, and lay the foundation for legally and fairly firing poorly performing employees if they fail to improve. These are benefits or advantages of introducing performance review. And it's not about filling out the forms. It's a process. It's a part of bigger process. It's a way to structure relationships with employees, and a good evaluation system includes observation, documentation, and communication. And during our course, we will learn how to do that perfectly. How performance review affects a company business. So a company usually has a strategy, or they have just a set of, let's say, annual objectives. So based on the strategy, company develop goals and requirements, and it depends on employee efficiency, because it's employees who do what company planned to do, right? So employee efficiency influences on company growth and success and on company financial results. For this, for employee efficiency, you need one-on-one meetings and year-end reviews. Managers give feedback, employees share ideas, and managers observe and document. This is how it works. What are the benefits and uses of the performance review? It helps determine how each employee's work can contribute to the overall goals of the organization. It's actually is inspiring thing, because when you connect employee objectives to something from the company strategy, you see how important job is. You not only see, right, but you also show to your employees. You also empower your employees to contribute to the company success, because they see the connection, right? It examines each employee as an individual to assess his or her strengths and weaknesses. Identify and reward good performers to foster loyalty and motivate employees to achieve more. Keep employees' morale high with constant feedback. Be aware of the needs of your workforce to ensure employee retention and increase productivity and innovation. Reduce the risk of compliance and litigation by ensuring that employees feel fair treatment and not be surprised by management decisions, and identify and resolve problems with problem employees to either turn them into valuable, productive employees or fire them. Either, or maybe to lay the groundwork for disciplinary action and, if necessary, termination. What they don't like about reviews. I wouldn't say everyone likes reviews, right? Because sometimes they don't like, but if you know the reason why they don't like and you manage these reasons, you may make it better, and you may mitigate all negative aspects of performance review. First, it takes time, that's right, but it's a time investment, it's not time spentage, because you invest time in your employees and in their future performance. It's hard to report poor performance to the employee. For this, you have to teach managers how to do that. Weak employees don't want to face objective criticism, and that's right. That's what you need to somehow be prepared for, because you will be criticized for your performance review system by those with low performance, and that's obvious. And it's difficult for those who rely primarily on friendly relations with management. The same, this too is not something that you expect, right? You don't expect employees to perform bad and to rely more on friendship or personal relations. You want every employee to be successful, to be a highly performance employee, and that's why you need this system. If you don't tell employees about their poor performance, it's allowing employees to work under the mistaken assumption that they are doing well, thereby not giving them the information they need to improve. It's a bad idea, right? When you don't tell them about their performance, you make something bad for them because you don't help them. Tolerating bad performance and the strain they place on other employees and their company, surprising bad performers with negative decisions, and face difficulties in firing bad employees because you haven't laid the proper groundwork. So it's better not to skip telling employees they work bad. Elements of the personal evaluation system or performance management system or performance appraisal system. Fair and communicative environment. So we will see it's all about communications. It's not one direction communications, it's both direction communication. Respect for the employee, focus on the future, employee participation, regular feedback between reviews based on one-on-ones, and documentation of employee performance in human resources information system. Okay, responsibilities of parties in the process. The company creates a strategic plan, provides support and resources. Manager defines work requirements in a different ways. It could be job profile, OKR, management by objectives, KPI, or something else. Monitors and document employee performance with HRIS system. For example, modern HRIS system like PeopleForce, it may help to conduct one-on-ones and record every one-on-one meeting and the result of meeting and speaking points. Provides ongoing feedback to the employee, provides support and resources. The supervisor, together with the employee, determine work goals, create action plans to meet the requirements and goals, engage in ongoing dialogue about employee performance. Employee listens to and acts on feedback from supervisor, performs work in accordance with requirements and objectives, provides feedback to supervisor about work environment. And HR implements HR automation system, develops process and evaluation forms, organizes management training, how to conduct performance review, prepares schedule and report on the process. Actually, this part could be done with help of HRIS, which we will see on our 5th lesson. Integrates the process into other processes, pay, training, and others, which we will talk on our 6th lesson. Okay, and now let's talk about current research. I always prefer to use this kind of research surveys to be actually, for example, just to benchmark yourself to other companies first, but also to be in a current trends, not to be outdated, right? So the full research will be in your class, so you can download it, but we will talk about the main ideas. So, as a result of this research, the most successful companies in terms of the business, not in terms of performance management, in terms of the business results, twice as likely to use technology rather than manual process to high degree to conduct reviews. And that's why we have this technology class in our course. Much more likely to have important conversations between a supervisor and an employee 4 or more times a year. Actually, this is what previously called check-ins, catch-ups, sync-ups, but now we usually call it one-on-ones or one-to-ones, one-to-one meeting. More than twice as likely to have a review process that is easy to use. And that's what we are going to implement. You shouldn't implement something very difficult, very, how to say, complicated. It should be as easy as it could be. More than twice as likely to use employee evaluations of supervisors, upward feedback. More than twice as likely that managers have received sufficient performance management training. So it's very important, right, to do this training. Are much more likely to hold managers accountable for performance management activities, not HR, but managers. Are more likely to see a role for artificial intelligence in future performance management process. It's just a rise in technology. I wouldn't say there are lots of different systems that you can use, but I think we will see more and more in this sphere in upcoming years. Okay, and now some research, some graphics. Survey question: does your organization have a performance management process? Yes, a formal one, the biggest answer. Yes, one that has both formal and informal elements. And just 1% no, and we have no intention of adopting one. So if you don't have this, you need to implement it ASAP. Next question: how has the coronavirus pandemic changed performance management in your organization? Performance management discussions often occur remotely rather than face-to-face. This is the most important impact. Processes have become more digital and technology-driven, which is, I think, good. Performance goals have been adapted to new circumstances. Managers have needed new PM skill set for remote work, and then the rest. And which is very interesting, managers schedule more frequent one-on-one meetings, 30%. Next question: To what degree does the organization performance management process results in the following: better employee development, ability to meet all organizational performance management goals, improved employee performance, increased employee engagement. Very great results. Next question: which of the following describes your organization's objective for conducting performance review? And the most popular answer was to help individual employees learn and grow. And this how you can use the performance review to to show this to the employees and to make employees accept it. You don't show this like an evaluation. You don't call it actually evaluation. You call it, you make actually rename it, not performance review, but let's say what is I would say more frequent and more popular, performance development. We conduct performance development, and that's why we use this performance review as a basis for performance development. To help the organization improve overall performance, to boost communications between employees and managers. Actually, you can use all these ideas just to make an advertisement of your performance appraisal system in the company. Next question. Which of the following statements are features of your organization's performance management process? It includes both positive feedback and constructive critique. It includes a discussion of work goals. It involves a conversation about development goals and activities, and the rest. What methods does your organization use to set goals and track results for the purpose of increasing performance? SMART objective system, key performance indicators, objectives and key results, management by objectives, progress plans problems, fast goals, key results areas, and agile goals. And we will consider different approaches during our next class. What types of metrics are incorporated in your performance management process? Manager ratings, and that's okay. You see, this is the most popular. Self-assessment rankings, metrics analytics from other systems, and then the rest. What employees-related factors are rated in your PM system? Goals met, job responsibilities fulfilled, behaviors demonstrated. Actually, that's why we have this. We have our third class about behaviors assessment or competency assessment, and values displayed. Actually, this is quite similar because usually company express values in behaviors terms. Okay, on average, how often are the following actions conducted in your organization? Manager-employee check-ins and conversation, manager-employee conversation about performance, manager-employee conversation about career goals, formal reviews or appraisal of performance. And you see in different number per year, but 4 times or more a year is the most often. On average, how often are the following actions conducted in an organization? Peer-to-peer and upward feedback. And you see that 4 times a year is most popular answer. Does the organization use technology for the purpose of performance management? Yes, 75%. That's good because that's make you think about the system as well, not just to use pen and paper, right? Survey question: which technologies does your organization use to support performance management? Tools bundled or integrated into HR management or information system is the first one. Excel access or similar spreadsheet to database program. The next. Standalone and single point solutions. The list. Next question: which of the following capabilities does your performance management technology system include? Actually, this is interesting because it's something you can use to compare different systems. It's kind of a checklist for you of your requirements to compare system. Facilitates employee performance review or appraisal process. Allows user to evaluate performance in relation to goals. Tracks performance review meetings. Allows workflow approvals. Enables one-on-ones and check-ins between managers and employees. Enables 360-degree feedback between managers, employees, and peers. Aids training and development. Actually, we will consider people force system. People force has everything from this up to this. It doesn't have training and development. enables recognition praised by others, currently doesn't have but is going to have, permits automated reminders, yes, aids communication, depends on what they mean, but I think yes, includes a calibration process, kind of yes, can integrate with third-party solutions, yes. So I think there are maybe 13 or 15 points, and let's say 70% of these features are included in People Force, which we'll consider on one of our class. Where do you think the future of performance management is headed over the next 3 to 5 years? I think this is very interesting. It will become more integrated with employee engagement and satisfaction data. I think it's a good idea. It will be more focused on development activities. I think it's quite focused on this currently, but yeah, maybe it will improve. It will become better at boosting employee performance. It will have more automated components related to artificial intelligence. That's what I expect, actually. It will become less formal and structured. It will increasingly be based on verbal or written conversation rather than ratings. It will become more objective. It will increasingly disappear from the landscape. Just 15% thinks of that. Okay, so let's sum up main ideas from the researchers. Performance appraisal is a process, not a form. It structures your relationship with your employees while providing legal protection for your company that I mentioned before. A good appraisal system includes observation, documentation, and communications, not just filling forms. A performance appraisal system can provide many benefits. It can improve employee performance and morale, identify poor performers and way to improve them, and lay the groundwork for legally sound discipline and termination. A supervisor's attitude helps determine whether a performance appraisal system will be successful. If a supervisor is enthusiastic about the opportunity to work with employees to improve their performance and experience, employees will share that enthusiasm. That's the results. And a continuation. A good appraisal system includes support, motivation, communication, collaboration, fair treatment, documentation, formality, and accountability, and is consistent with the company's core values and goals. Managers should use appraisal system to improve future performance, not punish employee for past poor performance. Managers can increase employee job satisfaction and build their confidence in their process by involving them in the process and giving them the authority and responsibility for leading and evaluating their own performance. Managers should give feedback on an ongoing basis, not just at a year-end meeting. Managers should document employee performance through the year with the help of HRIS system. While reporting negative information is difficult, not reporting can be much worse. And now the homework. Describe your company current personal assessment practices, any of them that you have. Even if they are informal. Let's say you don't have anything at all, but somehow you make decisions about salary increase. Somehow you make decisions about dismissing employees. Somehow you probably make decisions about bonuses. Write down how these decisions are made. Describe what goals and objectives you would like to achieve in your company through a performance review process, like employee development, employee morale improvement, employee engagement, or something else. And what's next? We will talk about performance appraisal, different methods, what you need for different methods, and some templates or some examples of those. Then we will talk about competency assessment or behavior assessment, then about how to conduct the meetings. And this actually, this class could be as an example for your managers, so you can use these materials to teach your managers how to conduct performance reviews. Then automation, I will show you how it works in the system, and then how to use results, how to continue with something else. Books, Peter Drucker, Taylor, Andrew Grove, and Douglas McGregor. All these guys I mentioned during our class today, so I recommend all these books. And today, that's all. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for your participation. I am waiting for your homework. If you are not in this course, just join us. I think it's very useful and you will benefit by participating in this course. So I'm waiting for you. That's all. See you later. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.